Welcome to Scarves and Spikes.
Hello to all the Atlanta United fans. My name is Jürgen Damm, and you are watching Scarves and Spike, an Atlanta United podcast.
Yeah, it might be all that you get. Yeah, I guess this might well be it. Well, heaven knows I've
Welcome in, everybody. It's another episode of Scarves and Spikes.
Wait, that's not Tommy.
No, that's not Tommy. Tommy lost some facial hair.
He got younger too.
He did. He
Why
looked
do we
much
keep
better.
making this joke? Oh my gosh. Ha 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 ha. It's so funny, guys.
Know
This
what?
is the 300th time you've done this bit.
And guess what,
Um,
Henry? Just to spite you, we're gonna do it again the next time you're on. That's that.
And every time they're no, it's Tyler here alongside Sydney and Tommy, aka Henry. Actually, Henry. We're gonna go over Montreal last night. Josef Martinez. We're gonna give you guys a preview of the second Red Bulls match in less than a month. But get a couple things out of the way. Y'all go to scarvesandspikes.com. Go check out the latest news and everything else going on. Go join the Patreon, patreon.com/scarvesandspikes. We have one more promo that we'll hit here in a few minutes after people trickle in. But I wanted to, I guess, kind of start the show really quick just to echo something that happened yesterday and something that Rob said in the press conference. Just prayers and condolences to the family of Mo Janama, the Atlanta United 2 captain. He was part of the club for a while. Tragically passed away, and I actually haven't even heard what happened. I don't know if it's been released, but he passed away yesterday, far too soon.
Yeah.
So prayers to his family.
Yeah. What was he? 30 years old or something like
so.
that? Yeah, that's just terrible news. You know, a young guy just like that. You know, prime of his life, and then all of a sudden he's gone. You know, I remember Mo when he did play for the Tiz. You know, several years ago, and it was just a devastating loss. You know, just you never like to see something like that happen. So definitely prayers to his family, thoughts to his family, you know, in this time.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know that if they've announced that the club is doing anything different or anything, you know, kind of for him. I don't know. But obviously if that does come up, if anything does happen, we will let y'all know for sure. So all right. So let's do Montreal first for a few minutes, and then we got to let everybody know about the really cool contest that is going on, and then we'll jump into Red Bulls. But we did our 3 takeaways last night, and we kind of touched on some items. Look at this guy.
Oh, there's Tommy.
120, guys.
Oh, hey, buddy. Did you ever leave the Benz?
I'm not going to hit end stream. I promise you that.
Please don't.
How was the
I got
Waffle
my
House?
Sweetwater Peach, which I never get to get
Very
anywhere
nice.
in, not sponsored. But yeah, we were.
You are sponsored.
Well, not really, but yeah. But thank you. Yeah, I got this stuff.
Did you run to Al Michaels at all, or Kirk Herbstreit, or Ben, for that matter?
No, I've run into nobody. I thought I ran into Rob Schneider's daughter. Apparently,
okay.
she's an important person.
Okay.
She's playing at the church thingy,
Oh, the Tabernacle.
the tabernacle.
Yeah.
Whoever thought Rob Schneider's daughter would be anything, right? Anyways, so many tweets about bringing Josef Martinez back.
Yeah.
So many tweets. You probably have already started talking about it. Let me just say.
I mean, we went live 5 minutes ago.
Well, people are upset And like, I understand, right? Like he comes back and he scores 2 on you, and it hurts. But like, he was really bad when he left. He was real bad. You could tell he was still hurting.
Yeah.
He wasn't all the way there. Terrible passes. However, if you tried to bring him back, because I'm already seeing the tweets. Oh, there's very good food here. If you found those,
Yes.
if we signed him as a backup for cheap, I would feel bad for whoever was the DP signing in front of him, because anytime like he would trip or take the wrong step, people would be like, hashtag start Josef. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's very good for whoever's going to be the guy above him. And if we sign him to be our starter, which is what some people are asking for, what are we doing?
I mean, to play devil's advocate, think about who was in front of him on the depth chart at the time.
He's
kind of
turned
ridiculous.
up. He's turned out pretty good.
Henry's here?
Yeah,
Henry is here.
I'm here, man.
Where's Jonathan? Why isn't Jonathan on here?
Tommy, I have a question for you. How many beers in are you right now?
3 beers and a gummy and a half.
Figures.
Freaking
That's
gummies.
what I thought.
I stuck him on a plane. I stuck him on a
That's what I
plane.
thought.
Did you go to the Coke factory today?
I went to the Coke factory. The cucumber Sprite was pretty good.
Did you try Beverly?
Try the what?
Did you try Beverly?
No.
Next time.
I was so excited just to have root beer. Like I was like, I haven't had root beer in a while. And Sprite and American
Root
cheese
beer?
is the best combination you could ever have.
Is that right?
This
Sprite
sounds
and
like
American
somebody
cheese.
who has recently consumed a gummy talking.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing I'm into. I'm sorry. All right, guys.
It's
Go
fine.
Falcons. Kirk
Enjoy the
Cousins,
game.
Justin. Rise up! And Emot says rise up. Oh, and a couple other people.
Rise
guys,
up.
cheers.
Have
Have
fun.
fun.
Suck it, Red Bulls.
Don't have too many gummies.
He's gone.
He's.
We've lost
I don't
him.
know that Tommy's going to make it back to his hotel tonight. Well, I guess so. We'll start there. Josef Martinez.
Yeah.
And you got a chance to talk to him last night while
Yeah.
me and I were in the Atlanta side of things. But tell us about that.
Yeah, I wrote about it on scarsandspikes.com, and I saw Felipe's tweet earlier today. Josef, obviously Atlanta means a lot to him, and that was the gist of his comments last night when I was in Montreal's press availability. He said, I still have much love for the city, much love for this team. It's difficult to come back, and it's tough to, describe how it feels scoring against a former club of yours. But I mean, you could see it like all last night. How much this place means to him still, how much he holds Atlanta in high regard. But at the same time, he said, I still have to fight for my team. I have to still play for my colors. And essentially he's saying, you know what? It's a business. It's soccer. That's what he said. This is soccer. And like he was in town on business, and he stood on business, I guess. 2 goals twice now, back-to-back matches. He scored a brace, and it had to be him. Just like we talked about last night during the 3 takeaways. What more can you say? I guess. What more can you say?
Well, Dylan had a good question saying, does it seem like he and Courtois work things out? Because we all know the drama that Josef
like
went through with his most recent coach again.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Courtois said he's the most talented player he's ever seen, and it's a pleasure to coach with him. And those are big words considering Courtois, where he's played. This is a guy that's played in Europe, in the Premier League and League. He's seen some players, and interested to hear how high regard he holds Josef Martinez. And to me, it sounds like the rift is broken. I mean, the rift is healed, and the bridges have been sealed up. That's just what I got from it. So, but again, who else, right? To really close the book on Atlanta United as we know it, and essentially the odds are very, very slim. I mean, they already are, but they're pretty much zero right now that they're going to make the playoffs. They need to win both games, but by a miracle, they have no chance of making the playoffs. So, I guess if anyone to break the hearts of Atlanta United fans, let it be Josef Martinez.
Yeah.
What you got?
Henry.
No. I mean, pretty much the same that we were talking about last night on the 3 takeaways. It just had to be him, and it's kind of poetic that he was at one point, Atlanta United's guy, the hero, the guy that was bagging all the goals and making the Benz go wild, and ironically, in front of what had to be Mercedes-Benz Stadium's thinnest crowd all season and probably since like COVID, I would dare to say. Just completely didn't mathematically, like Atlanta United's still alive mathematically, but it's just there's no way. I don't think that they get it. It just you need a lot of help, and you need to, you need 6 points of your next 2 games, and you've never really this season you haven't really won consecutive games a whole lot. So I don't really expect it to happen. So we'll see.
It's Red Bulls, and Red Bulls have been prone to. We saw against NYCFC, they got played off the pitch. Against NYCFC, then again they won their game last night against Toronto. I mean, it's Toronto, which it's Toronto, but yeah, NYC Red Bulls coming up, and then Orlando, who barely have put a foot wrong over these past month or two, and really a sleeper who could come out of the East. But like you said, Harry, hasn't happened this year, and very, not really too high on it happening for Atlanta to save their season, really. Yeah. So it is what it is at this point, I guess.
So Henry and I were walking out last night, and I made the comment that if it was going to be anybody for Montreal that scored and essentially all but put Atlanta out of the playoff race, at least it was Josef, and we got to see Josef score a couple of times in the Benz. They were vintage Josef goals.
Yeah.
It sucks, like for Atlanta, it sucks. It really does. And yeah, they're not out of it, but
it may as well be.
I would love to try to figure out the way to do that formula and the math and figure out what the percentage is.
It's not even worth it.
It's so low, And so let's talk about that real quick. Right now you've got Montreal, Toronto sitting at the 2 play-in game spots, so 8 and 9. Oh. Toronto has one more game than everybody else. So the highest that they could go is 40 points. Montreal, above them, is sitting on 40 points. However, Toronto is they have the first tiebreaker, which is 11 to Montreal's 10.
Yeah.
Then you go to Philly, who is also 37 points, but 9 games that they've won. DC at 37 points, 9 games that they've won. And then you have Atlanta at 34. So for Atlanta fans, you have to win out. That would put you at 40 points, dead even. Then you have to hope that Toronto doesn't do anything, that they either draw or lose, that Philly lose out completely, and DC lose out completely. There is a world where Philly and DC could draw their games and Atlanta wins both of theirs. That bumps them up to 10 wins, and Atlanta takes that last play-in spot over Toronto.
Guess who? Well, just to give a little hope, Toronto plays Miami on Saturday. That's Toronto's last match. Miami's clinched the Shield, so the only thing they have left to play for is the points record. I think that's still on the table. So, there's a chance that Toronto does lose on Saturday, but at the end of the day, though, Tyler, definitely appreciate you taking us through that. But at the end of the day, you had chances to. You had plenty of chances, and even if they did, we said this numerous times, even if they did get to the playoffs, who would bet on them to actually do anything? I mean, we joke about them being Miami's bogey team, but beyond that, if they by some miracle beat Miami, who would gives them a chance to make it, far in the first place. So that's where we are right now, I guess. And last night just kind of closed the book on this season, pretty much. So
a few things were said last night that we kind of hinted at on the 3 takeaways. One being, first of all, Rob thanked the fans immensely. He said, the fans have suffered a lot this year. He said it's been a rough season for them. This is literally what he told me. He also kind of alluded to some concerns, and Henry, I'm trying to paraphrase this in the most accurate way possible, but some concerns over the depth that this team has. And then we got to the locker room, and Daniel Rios kind of alluded to the need for the coaching staff to come up with solutions for the team to play better, to score more goals. But he ultimately said that the one thing that the team can do to be better in general is to stop giving up goals, to have more clean sheets, which is valid. But coming from a striker, your job is to score goals. And I know the defense hasn't had a ton of clean sheets this year, but the defense has been okay. But the goals are not going in the way that they need. Right. So I don't want to sit here and say that it was a lot of finger pointing, because it didn't feel like it was finger pointing. It just feels like everybody's kind of nobody knows how to fix it, and everybody's just trying to figure out, like, what can we point to? Not blaming, but like, what's the problem? And I don't think anybody has any real answers. Like, that's where it's at. That's what it felt like last night.
Sorry, real quick, Henry, and to give Danny credit last night, that was a good goal. Really good goal, really great service from Amador, and a great finish by Danny. So to give him credit for that last night. But sorry, Henry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, Sydney. I was just gonna say, I think it's a combination of factors. Look, ever since Gonzalo Pineda was let go, ever since that vacancy was created, and then it became clear that wasn't going to be filled this season. I think the fans kind of started realizing that, the season probably isn't really going much of anywhere at this point. And the team and the players will never admit to it, but I feel like some of the players may just kind of be giving up in a sense. And that's not like a knock on them. The morale, I think, it's evaporated. And we talked about this on the 3 takeaways, but you walked into that locker room, and it was totally somber. Like, the mood was dead. But yeah, I think much like the fans, the players kind of realized that, this season was sort of a punt at some point, especially when not hiring the coach and trying to ride with Rob for the rest of the season was one example of that. But the second one probably was only signing the one DP, being Alexei Miranchuk, and ultimately only bringing in 2 players in the summer when you really need that a lot more to be competitive. The thought that you were going to bring in a second DP at that point, like, for this final part of the season, you had 1 attacking DP. And so it's no wonder that your offensive production has struggled, because you don't have the talent that you had before, that you were relying on. And so a lot of what made you successful, quote unquote successful last season, was having just a killer offense. You had, Almada and Giacomakis in just terrific seasons. Xande Silva when he was hot, Saba when he was pretty good. And I just look back at Saba tonight, for example, last night. And he had several chances that he just couldn't score. He had a great one, crosses goes across the goal, puts it wide. He has basically a tap in, at the far post, and he hits it off the woodwork.
Off the bottom of the crossbar.
And I don't know if that is just a lack of confidence or just unlucky at this point. I don't know
just
what to
don't
attribute
get
that
the
to.
vibe that it's a lack of confidence from Saba. I just think
confidence is there.
I think he just threads the needle a little too tightly, and I mean, he's the leading goal scorer and playmaker for this team right now, so he's doing something right. But like, we said it 6 months ago, if this guy had scored half the chances that almost went in, I put up the meme last night. I don't know if anybody saw it, but it was like, Saba in the woodwork, and it's the little meme of the guy going, "They hate each other."
Yeah.
Because it's just like how many times he has missed goals because of the bar. Like he's so close. And I mean, the thing is he is supposed to be a supporting cast to the striker and the number 10. So that's what wingers do, right? And he's having to be the guy that's up in the middle of the box. And I mean, I'm glad he's taken that effort, but that doesn't need to be part of his responsibility all the time. I'm glad we have guys getting in the box for sure, but there are some problems with the consistency of where the positioning, like where folks are supposed to be at, where the striker is supposed to be at. Like it just seems there's never enough consistency with the players between, you have two strikers that are kind of swapping in and out. So the moment the team gets used to one, then you have another guy coming on who plays a totally different game. Saba and Edwin kind of flip-flopping at times. Like there's consistency in the lineup, but there's not a ton of consistency in the way the team plays.
Yeah.
And that's what's so frustrating.
Yeah, and we were talking about you and I, Tyler, were talking about last night. Look how deep Rios was playing for the ball.
Yep.
But that just speaks to the lack of service that this team has given him. And I don't put it all on him. It's just the consistency, like you said, and the chemistry. But going back to Saba real quick, I know we have to get to Red Bulls eventually. But going back to Saba, I love to see his XG this year. I mean, he's drastically underperformed this XG this season, and I feel like in a different year those go in for him, and this team is in a different state. But I love what he brings to the table, and I feel like under a new coach, under a new general manager, really under a new philosophy from the coaching staff, I think he'll be a much, much better player. And he's one player that definitely excites me for 2025 as we kind of turn the page. Granted, with two games left, but as we kind of turn the page to 25, one player I'm really excited for, and with a new striker, you have Miranchuk going through a preseason with Atlanta United for the first time, but eventually another winger, because who knows what Silva's status will be in 2025. So half of this attack could be much different in 2025, and to me that excites me. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Did we want to talk about this too? Dylan asking about Fortune on the left wing. How do you guys feel about him starting on the left wing last night?
I didn't really see him functioning as much as of a winger. I thought he played as sort of an 8 in a 3 midfield. But he did tend to lean a little bit to that side and kind of help support build up and pressing on that left side. But for the most part, I saw him functioning more as a midfielder. I think he did pretty well. I don't really see a problem with him at the moment. I think he's, despite the team having the season that it's having, Jay has, shined. I think he's done a very good job of developing.
Yeah.
And, last night he did okay from my point of view. I don't know what y'all think.
Yeah, he did okay. Like you say, he did okay. Yeah, I felt like Valentino was kind of backed into the corner because of the ongoing Silva injury, and he wanted to get Weeba in there, so the only natural place was to get put Jay on the wing, and yeah, he was okay, like he said. That's not his natural position, of course, but he's right in the midfield, and Jay's another player that in 2025 I'm looking for much bigger things from. So maybe it showcases a little bit of his versatility for him to be put in that position. As you know, Mosquera doesn't look like he is starter quality for this team. Nothing more than substitute quality. But I feel like, yeah, he's going to be a big part of this team in 2025. Definitely the midfield. I feel like Muyimba. We talked about him. I don't want to get back into that, but yeah, Jay was okay, like he said. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jay played as a central midfielder who got thrown into the wing position. I mean, he just, you could tell he had an inclination to just drift back into the midfield, back inside a lot, which is, I mean, that's normal. You're not a vertical winger by heart and by nature. That's not the position that you've typically played. So I think maybe you lost a little bit of width that you would normally get out of even look for all of Sean De Silva's faults this year and the issues that he's had. He will stretch out a back line wide, right? By going towards the touch line and trying to take on guys 1v1. Jay last night had a tendency to cut back in. And it's not that it's a bad thing. You have wingers, you know, I mean, Saba likes to do it on the other side. Araujo was the same way when he was here. He loved to cut inside. He was not a vertical winger, but I think you lost some width last night. And, you know, I mentioned it, me and Sydney were talking, but Montreal's back line is not good.
They're very sloppy. Very sloppy. Yeah.
And it just felt like Atlanta could have taken much more advantage. Honestly, the best player on their back line, and I'm including the wing backs, was George Campbell. Shout out George Campbell, you know, Atlanta alumni. But
right.
They were very sloppy. So Jay, like, I think he got shoved into a position that he's not comfortable with. I thought he did well with what he had. Nothing that stood out necessarily, but I get it. Rob's got to do something different. Rob is trying. Rob has been handed a crap sandwich this year, and I feel for him. I really do, because I really do think he could be successful as a head coach somewhere. I don't know how many people would be successful with this team right now, the way they're playing, because it's not that the talent's not there. It's that there is something missing with the motivation, the mentality, whatever it is. He mentioned it last night. Like he said, I see the same things and I feel the same exact way y'all do. It feels like they're coming out flat, and it feels like they just don't want it. And he said, I know that's not true, but he said, I completely feel the same way that y'all do.
Yeah. So real quick, going back to my previous question about Saba. Hey, Tommy.
The brisket sandwich, I was recommended by many people.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
You like it?
Yeah, I ate it. I'm sad I only got to eat half. This is why you don't get married. You lose your other half of your brisket sandwich.
Yeah. You gain one half and lose the other.
Yeah, like it's why you don't get married. Henry, Sydney.
Hey.
I'm no Omar. I'm not Blaze. I'm just having a good time in life.
Tommy's having fun.
Really good time.
Gentlemen, have a magical one.
Thanks, Tommy.
Go Falcons.
Enjoy the game.
Cool.
Our cousins.
Oh, that too. Go ahead, Sydney. What was your point?
These Tommy cameos are really fun.
Yeah. No, going back to my previous, thought, just real quick on Saba, his XG, Dan, thanks for pulling that up. 10.4, so he's not underperforming his XG by that much. His XA is 3.7, actual numbers 8 and 3. So not underperforming that much. So I'm surprised by that. I'm surprised, but still, like he should have produced more this season than he has, and yeah, he hasn't. And who knows how this season would have gone if he had produced more in his role. And not to put it on Saba, but yeah, just a little side note.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is enough about Montreal. So
Thank goodness.
we will. Wow. It is what it is. All right. We'll dive into Red Bulls, but first, Atlanta United fans win an exclusive experience at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. You guys go, I'll post it in the chat. Go to amfam.com/united to enter. AmFam is giving away Basically a package, you and a couple of friends, to go up to the training center and get you some custom kits, some official kits. You meet some players and actually do like a full on like training session, full training day with them. So lots of stuff going on, and that's just kind of like the tip of the iceberg. Plenty more, but yeah, go to amfam.com/united. It's free to enter. It's not going to cost you anything to go enter, and you might win. And like I've said, every time I've done this promo, the last time we did a big promo, which was the Flags Out competition last year on this show, people that didn't know about it, they went and put in for it. And one of the people that listened and did it because of listening to this show, they won literally like 2 weeks later. So
who knows? Could be you.
Maybe we're lucky.
Yeah. So links in the chat, also in the description. So yeah, definitely.
Go do it. All right. Red Bulls. I hate when the MLS schedulers put matches like this very close together. We saw Red Bulls up at Red Bull Arena 2 games ago, 2-2 draw. Then they go and get absolutely molly-whopped by New York City 5-1, and then they come back and beat Toronto 4-1. So Atlanta's got to win. This is the definition of a must-win game. So is the one after that.
Yeah. Sorry
to do?
Sorry to interrupt. I mean, can we just fast forward to the end of the season?
No, we can't. We don't have time.
We could.
Here's what else that kind of irritates me. I've mentioned this before. You have this match, then you have 2 more matches, or a full week without matches because of the international break, and then you have Orlando just kind of sitting out as an outlier. So the season could be over by the end of Saturday night. They need to go to Orlando and just play essentially a meaningless match. Orlando will be playing, should be for seeding, but I don't know. It's just, again, it just goes back to this team has just so many opportunities. You shouldn't have to leave it until the last part of your season to make the playoffs. You need them both, like you were saying. You need them both, but you need some help. But they should have never been in this position in the first place. So I am usually the optimistic one here. I just don't feel optimistic. I feel like their Red Bulls are a little more optimistic themselves. Granted, like we said, they did get crushed by NYCFC. But they're getting some players back in the lineup. They're starting to maybe look at NYC as a blip on the radar rather than, a sign of things to come. Forsberg is back. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm not optimistic.
Yeah, same here. My prediction, if you ask me right now, is probably like a 2-1 win for Red Bulls. Yeah, I don't see. I think you were lucky to get the draw at Red Bulls. Yes, you had some opportunities where you could have scored, but all in all, Red Bulls was, had some of the clearer chances to me, and so it's, yeah, I don't know. It's just the mess of this season. I think everyone just wants it to be over, from the fans to even some of the players. I think and this is just me just thinking, just because of the mood that you notice in the locker room, and some of these players just look tired when you go talk to them. They're just like, they're straight up not having a good time, for real. Like it's bad. So I think just like us, like we were saying, like I wish we could just hit that sim season button and go to 2025 already. But yeah, Red Bulls, it's your last home game, so I really, really, really hope that they pull out all the stops to try to at least win this game, even if you don't win the last game. But if you win this game, you give yourself a chance to go into decision day as not a meaningless game. And also it's your way of kind of saying goodbye to the fans for the season, because let's face it, you're probably not coming back. to play in the stadium this year. So yeah, just say goodbye to the fans.
Yeah.
Lennon got a yellow card, by the way. We forgot to mention. Lennon got a yellow. He is out, so
Yeah.
could be
Yeah,
Ronald
so
Hernandez
he'll be
starting on
suspended.
Saturday.
I think, you can't go into this match. Like, I understand the fans. I understand how I feel. I understand how the three of us feel. Everybody feels like it's so frustrating because it feels like the season's over. It really does. And it feels like these last two games are just, I don't want to say meaningless. That's what it feels like. But if I am not Rob Valentino, if I am Garth Lagerwey, I'm going down to the training ground before the game, like Friday, before this game on Saturday. And while every player that plays for this first team is in there, and I am telling them that these last two games are essentially a job interview. You've got a massive sample size of what you're getting out of each individual player, but these last two games should show you who is fighting for the badge and all the way to the end and who isn't. And I think we could probably all name about 5 players that we could absolutely see coming back next year and being a part of this team legitimately and being a valid part of the team. But right now, you got to play for some pride and play for your job. Like, you can't go into this match at home and then Orlando, if it still matters, and put out anything other than 110%. It can't be, oops, I got absolutely destroyed and got beat while defending and gave up an unlucky goal. It can't be, we had a brilliant opportunity and I put the cross into the 800 section. It has to be on point. These little mistakes, these little lapses in judgment, all that stuff, like it's got to stop. And whatever kind of pep talk has to happen, it's got to be done.
Yeah,
but
why do they need to have a pep talk, Tyler? It's like it's
I
two
mean,
games
I don't
left.
know.
Like, why are we still having this discussion about the team?
I don't.
Like,
But if
they need-
if I knew the answer to that, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be
Yeah.
getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm not coming at you, but like, why does Garth Lagerwey need to motivate this team? Why does Rob Valentino need to motivate this team? You got to motivate yourself. Like, you had so many chances to make something of the season, and you didn't so many times. And it's just frustrating to say the same thing over and over again about this team. They need to give. I saw a post. I'm not trying to call it the social team. I saw a quote from Rios that's tweeted out by ATL UTD. I'm like, what? It just seems like words right now. It just seems like hollow words. What?
Which one? Which quote was it?
I have to pull it up. But
me and Henry were basically the two. And
was it the one where he was like, we can't give up or something like that?
We haven't delivered. At the end, it's the players and the coaching staff that have the responsibility, and we have to go to the show again on Saturday. We won't give up. I mean, like, I get it, but like, how are we to believe that this team won't do what they've always done this season? And just
let me say this, and y'all know, like, that I love our social media team. They have a job that they're doing, and
yeah. I'm not calling them out, but yeah.
No, and I get that, but I need to add some context. Reading on paper and being there, being the one who asked the question to Daniel Rios, where that answer came from. Those two things, they don't equal. They don't match up. The way Daniel Rios said those words, it felt like it was from the soul of a defeated person.
Yeah.
He seemed like he was on the verge of tears. Honestly, it was very, I mean, we asked him questions and he had to think for a while just to kind of come up with the answer that wasn't, A, going to get him in trouble, or B, make him look like, he's crazy. Like, it was an obligation at that point. It was not easy for him to answer. And so I agree. Like, it almost feels like you're going through the motions at this point.
Yeah, you get my point, right? You get my
100%. I get it. But I'm making sure that everybody else understands the context, because
right.
that quote didn't come from a person who was like, who at least exuded the fact that they think they can go and win.
Yeah.
However you read that quote, you read it wrong. I guarantee you. Because Daniel Rios looked like he wanted to flip a table when he was answering that question. Well, he was calm. He was super calm, and he, like, shout out to him for, you know, standing in front of us and giving that answer. But like, you could tell he was just, yeah, like you said, Tyler, defeated. Guy was just defeated. So yeah, I mean, it's at this point, and I know we talked about, you know, it could be it's on the coaching staff, it's on the players, it's on this and that other person. Like, at this point, there's no use playing the blame game. I don't think the issues that you have with this team, you're not going to fix them in a day that you have until this Red Bulls game. You're not going to fix them in that time. So it's just, this is what it is. And ultimately it's up to the players to, you know, give it all on Saturday. And, you know, if you can't win the game on your talents or on your, you know, tactical aspects, just fight it out and win it with grit.
Yeah. I mean, show some heart, at least show some heart. And if you lose the game on Saturday, at least go down swinging. At least go down knowing that you put in, like he said, Tyler, 110% of what you can give on the field, on the pitch against this team. If you go out and just crap the bed, that looks bad on you. But if you go out and you lose, but you at least put some heart into it, you at least tried, I mean, it goes down a little less bitter. I mean, it'll still be bitter, but it'll be a little less bitter knowing that you left it on the pitch. So
yeah,
that's where I come out on it. I mean, I know we'll get to predictions in a second. I mean, Henry already gave his, but I don't know if Atlanta wins this game. I see it as, I think I'm going to say just the same as Henry, 2-1 Red Bulls, and, you know, the season will put preseason, our playoff chances will be over, period, after that point. So,
yeah. So, you know, Emilio saying something here. He said, I really don't care about their answers at this point. The same with Rob. I think that's where everybody's at. Like, you know, I had this conversation with Henry down in the locker room. Like, what do you ask at this point? Like, what question are you going to ask that you're going to get a legitimately good question? I mean, put yourself in their shoes, right? Like, we've asked all season, like, what do you need to do to fix this? What do you need to do to fix that? What do you need to do to fix all of it?
It's the same issues and hence the same questions that we would ask.
Yeah.
And so at this point, you know, what's the sense in asking the question again? What do you ask? What were the issues in you know, offensive production today? Well, you're going to get the same answer to that question that we asked months ago, which is, we don't really know. So it's like, what? I don't even know what to ask to the players at this point. It's just, what else can you do? And the players really don't want to answer the questions either, for the most part.
And they don't know. And that's the thing. Like, nobody knows. Like, nobody can put their finger on it. And I think when it gets to that point, you almost have to really look at what's going on beyond just the regular training ground stuff that we can see. And then the games, like, there is almost like something culturally that's just not clicking for everybody together. And, you know, we were hung out with a bunch of the supporters yesterday and supporters groups and everything. And I mean, you know, they were kind of saying a lot of the same stuff. Like, it doesn't seem like these players care about each other. They don't seem like they have relationships like outside of the workplace, which is the pitch. Like, they just don't have chemistry, and they come out week in and week out not showing that they care. I'm not saying they don't care. I'm literally echoing what we've all said and what Rob said last night, but it just seems like they don't care.
Right.
I want to see at this point flip some freaking tables, man. Do something. I want to see somebody just drop bombs. Like at this point, again, it's a pride issue. Play for pride, play for passion, and show that you want to be here next year. Show that you want to be a part of a club that is on the rebuild because you have so much going for it. If they get all these signings and hires right, show that you want to be here next year and that you do it for the city and the badge, because the playoffs are almost a conclusion at this point.
I think I've said it at some point. Sorry, Sydney, just going to get something quick in. I think I've said it at this point, but to me, it just looks like a bunch of players that don't really know each other on the field. Like it's weird. And then in this game last night, it was very apparent at some moments where like a loose ball goes into the defensive third, and then for example, Derek Williams starts to go for it, and then he sees Pedro Amador is approaching, and so Derek Williams thinks Amador is going to get it, so he lets off, and then Pedro Amador thinks Derek Williams is going to get it, so he lets off, and then a Montreal player swipes in and takes the ball. It's like, how hard is it to communicate? It just feels like this team doesn't communicate on the field, and there's just no understanding of what the players are supposed to do, who's supposed to get to those balls, where, what are the movements that are supposed to be happening off the ball, because then you see two players, running into each other, basically getting to the same ball. And it's like, what's going on here? How hard is it to communicate and say like, okay, this is my ball, I got it, mine, I don't know. Like, it's just it's a basic part of success in soccer, is being able to communicate and understand what your teammates are going to do in any given moment. What's your role in each phase of the game? What are your teammates' roles? And that then having the awareness to execute that. And this team has been missing that this season. And it shows in those moments where it just feels like 11 guys run around the field with their heads cut off. Like, I don't. It's a chaos.
And that's the most frustrating part. And not to just keep beating the same drum, but that's the most frustrating part about this season. Just hasn't seemed like there's a lot of growth with this team from start to finish, to be honest with you. So,
yeah. So I'll give you my prediction, and then I just want to hit on one thing that Gray asked. I mean, I'm going to say 2-2. I'm going to say it's going to be another draw.
Yeah.
I think another draw is kind of a fitting end, if that's genuinely how it ends. You just got to go out there and show some heart, and I think they'll show enough to not get beat at home again, I hope. But I just don't think it's going to be enough to keep the playoff hopes alive. What were you going to say, Sydney?
No, go ahead. I was going to see if we could hit on Gray's question first before your prediction, but I mean, we can go ahead and ask. So
Gray asking, based on what you've seen and heard in the locker room and at practice, who legitimately wants to be back next year? I'll throw out my one name, and because I've thought about it, the one name that pops up to me instantly is Saba.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
That's the only one that now I'm not saying others don't. Of course, we talk to some players more often than others, but Saba is the only player right now that I've talked to in the last 6 months that I'm just like, he 100% he's like locked in on Atlanta. It seems, baby was basically born here or is being raised here. Like he was excited about coming here. He's, I think, really enjoying it. Not saying that others don't. Rios is walking around with a Deion Sanders jersey, Falcons jersey last night, which I thought was cool. But I don't know. I don't know that there's anybody else that I'm just like, yeah, they absolutely 100% want to be here. Noah Cobb, I mean, I think he wants to stay here. Him and Efrain Morales, both, young guys. I think all your kids, quote unquote, really want to be here because every time they're out there, they fight for the badge. But I mean, if your typical starting 11, Saba is my answer.
100%. 100%. I have, not much to add to that. No, 100%. Like, you can see it on his face. Like, every time he takes the field.
Yep.
So,
I think Slish would be another one, maybe, but I think
I was gonna say
I
that.
just, yeah, I just don't know with Slish if it's just that he absolutely despises losing or if he really wants to be in Atlanta. I don't know.
I
Or both.
think I think it's a combination of both. Look, I think if he didn't like being in Atlanta, the moment for me was that game against DC in Leagues Cup where he missed the 2 penalties and then he still went out and talked to media. But more than that, it was the answers he gave, because he was like on the verge of tears basically, but he still, gave a couple of answers and said basically like, that they were going to fight for the playoffs, that they were going to get
another.
They were going to get there. Stian is a good shout too, but they were going to get to the playoffs, and that they were going to push and do their best. And I personally, I do see Slish, putting everything on the field. In my view, it's tough when there is so much crap around you, man, and around this season. And I genuinely think that if this season were going even a little bit better, it might be easier to see just how much he gives for the team and how much he actually does. Because and that's why I really hope. I'm pretty sure he'll be around for next season, but I really hope the next season, like, he's one of the guys that is part of kind of this redemption arc. Because, man, that'd be a great story, because you've had to endure a whole year of crap.
And a new country.
It'd be great,
culture.
yeah. It'd be great if, next season, with a team that's balling out, you show that, Garth was right to be hyped about you in the winter when he signed Slish and said, like, I've been trying to sign a player like this for a long time, right? You obviously haven't seen that throughout the season because of the stuff, but that's what you want to see next season. Hopefully we do.
And I see Broshaw saying Derek. He always seems to be a warrior mode. So Derek's another player. I feel like we can, just kind of keep throwing names out here. But Brad Guzan, certainly. I feel like there's, a handful of players that truly want to be here. And, you just don't want to paint fingers to say XYZ doesn't want to be here or anything like that. I think, and again, just comes down to the pride for your shirt, just playing for your shirt, and who truly wants to be here. And as he signed players who truly can represent what Atlantean that is all about. So that's the biggest thing I'm looking for next season, as you look to fill in some of these holes that'll be on the roster. You have a lot of players going out, all players coming in. Are they going to want to play for what Atlanta United stands for? Play for the shirt, play for the badge, and that's what I'm looking for. That's the biggest thing I'm looking for. Probably more than talent. Of course, talented players will be what you need, but you need talented players that want to be here.
Yeah, and I agree with all that. I think I hear the other names, and I don't disagree. I just think specifically that question, to me, Saba is the only one that I feel it would take a significant offer for him to dip out on this team. Yeah. I think he genuinely wants to be in this city and play for this team. Whereas other players, I think, kind of like what happened with Yakimakis, I think he enjoyed being here, but a shiny new offer came. We knew he wanted more money anyway, and he took it. And I'm not mad at him for that, but also I don't know that I could say that a bunch of other players on this team wouldn't jump at the same opportunity. And I'm not saying Saba wouldn't, but I think it would take a little bit more out of a guy like Saba, because I think he really, really wants it. And Stian, I think he really wants to. He does want to be here. Derek, I think he wants to be here.
You know what? I'll sneak out a name, even though we haven't seen too much of him. Pedro Amador, compared to some of the other players, we haven't seen him play a whole lot because he just got here the summer. But dude, every time I see him play, he is absolutely a warrior. He is fighting. He is, going committed into tackles. He's, putting his body on the line. He blocked a shot off the line once. I remember that. He got his head busted open, going for an aerial duel. That was, there's not much more passion that you could exude. But yeah, I think he's been awesome, and I think, I can't wait to see what he looks like next season with an improved roster.
And all these names, like, I want them here. Those are names that I think as fans, you hope stay around, right? Because they've done well.
I feel like this has been a funeral show.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like. But
our obligatory Breck Shea mention.
Breck Shea, let's go. But yeah, I mean, Saturday is probably it, to be honest.
So 2-2, I said. Both of y'all are 2-1. We had a Joe saying 3-1 in the chat, but I mean, just go win.
Yeah.
Just go win. Colonel, we appreciate you driving through the chlorine cloud to
Colonel.
go see Joseph.
Be careful, Colonel, out
yes,
there.
Please.
Yes, please.
All right. So, I mean, that wraps it up for this one. We will be back on Saturday for the pre-match show. And then we'll be doing 6:30. And then just after we'll record our 3 takeaways, and we'll be back to doing spaces. We didn't get to do that last night, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Last game in the Benz, so just show up for the party at least. If you're
show up for the vibes.
Yeah, the vibes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it, y'all.
Bye, guys.
Think of Tommy doing something.
What? Yes, I was going to say. Sorry, you went out, but I was going to say we need to do a wellness check on him later on.
Yeah. He might be back at Waffle House again.
Right.
What's his XG? Expected gummies.
I'm taking 2.5 at least.
3.
Green apple or blue raspberry?
Yes.
Watermelon? All these
Yes. I'm glad we can laugh after last night.
Me too.
The way the season's gone.
Me too.
Laugh to not cry. Yeah.
Laugh to not cry. Yeah. Exactly.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it, y'all.
everyone. See ya.
Can only get from here.